All right. So you're either like taking the plunge, into corporate America.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you're already in the thick of it.
Right.
But you're looking for that edge.
Looking for an advantage.
Yeah, like how to really make it work.
Exactly.
So either way, we're going to unpack this book.
Okay.
It's called Unsolicited Advice for Corporate Newbies by Ethan Blakewell.
Interesting title.
Right. And it's not your typical, like, workaholic kind of guide.
Oh, good.
Blakewell's been in the game for decades, like seriously, decades.
He's seen it all.
He's seen it all.
Yeah.
And he's more about like, understanding the people side of things.
The human element.
That's it, the human element.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like how to win without burning out completely.
Makes sense.
Right. He even says he's cracked the code to only working 5 minutes a day.
Wow, now that's a claim.
I know, we'll see about that.
We'll see, we'll see.
But let's start with those like first few weeks in a new job.
Oh, crucial time.
Super crucial.
Yeah.
Blakewell really hits hard on the whole first impressions thing.
And honestly, there's a lot of psychology backing that up.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. We as humans, we're always trying to confirm our first impressions, right?
Like making snap judgments and then sticking to them?
Kinda, yeah. Like we're always looking for evidence to support our initial opinions.
So it's like setting the stage, but for your whole career.
Exactly. Your professional reputation on the line.
Yeah, he's got all these do's and don'ts.
Oh, I love those lists.
Me too. But this one tripped me up.
Hmm.
Don't create enemies. Avoid gossip. Stay emotionally detached.
Interesting.
Right. Sounds a little cold, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little.
Like, how do you build relationships if you're all, like, distant?
It's not about being cold. It's more about strategic observation, especially in those early days.
Okay.
You're not just learning the job. You're figuring out the unspoken rules.
Oh, the unwritten rules of the office.
Precisely.
Like who to watch out for.
Yeah, and like whose opinion actually matters.
And what actually gets rewarded by the higher-ups.
Right, what the bosses really value.
So you're saying it's better to be neutral at first.
Yeah, gather information before you, like, accidentally step into a minefield.
So it's less aloof and more like being a corporate spy, gathering intel.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah, you're gathering intel, figuring out the landscape before you make any big moves.
I like that analogy.
It's about being strategic,
Right.
And this ties into emotional intelligence.
Which is like, what, reading people's moods?
That's part of it.
Okay.
But it's also about managing your own emotions.
Oh, right, keeping your cool.
Exactly, especially in corporate America.
Where things can get pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. Stressful situations, difficult people. You're going to encounter it all.
And sometimes it's just not fair.
True.
So being able to, like, handle that?
Manage your reactions, read the room.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is. For your sanity and for making smart choices.
Man, I wish I had known that starting out.
I hear that a lot.
I totally fell for the whole office gossip thing.
Oh.
Thinking I was like, being one of the team.
Trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Burned some bridges before I even knew they were there.
Oh, yeah. Classic mistake.
Blakewell's trying to help people avoid that.
That's good.
He also talks about the basics.
Like what?
Learn everyone's names,
Oh, that's a big one.
especially your bosses,
Super important.
and listen more than you talk.
Seems obvious, but
Right. It's easy to forget.
people are so focused on proving themselves.
Yeah. They want to show off what they know.
And they miss the chance to actually learn.
So is that like the takeaway here? Play it cool. Be observant.
It's a big part of it, yes.
Okay.
It shows you're adaptable
Which is important. Why?
because the corporate world, things change all the time.
Priorities shift.
Yeah, constantly.
And Blakewell also talks about building a bank of favors.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Be helpful, but not a doormat.
That's the tricky part.
I've always struggled with that.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. Like, I want to help, but I don't want to get taken advantage of.
Makes sense.
Is that even possible?
It is. It comes down to understanding reciprocity.
Huh, what's that?
It's a psychological principle.
Okay.
Basically, humans are wired to want to repay kindness.
Oh, interesting.
So when you go out of your way for someone, especially early on,
Yeah.
you're not just being nice, you're strategically building goodwill.
So you can call on it later.
Exactly.
Like an investment.
I like that. An investment in relationships.
Yeah, okay.
It's subtle, but it's powerful.
So all these little things,
Yeah.
they're like part of Blakewell's bigger plan,
They are. It's about setting yourself up for success.
but not in a ruthless way.
No, not about climbing the ladder at all costs.
More like setting yourself up to thrive
Exactly, to thrive,
Yeah.
not just survive.
and have a little leverage.
Exactly. A little leverage never hurts.
So we've got first impressions down.
All right, what's next?
Now, managing up,
Oh, that's a loaded term.
It is. Makes me think of brown nosing. I know, right?
How do we do it without being that person?
That's where Blakewell gets really interesting.
How so?
He flips the script. It's not about sucking up.
Then what is it?
It's about understanding your boss's goals
Okay.
and then making them look good by helping them achieve those goals.
So less yes man, more strategic ally.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Think about it like this.
Okay.
When a new executive comes in, they often bring their own team.
Yeah, their old crew.
Right. Why do they do that?
Because they already know how they work.
Exactly. Their priorities, their style.
They can hit the ground running.
Without a ton of hand-holding.
Right. He actually talks about that in the book.
Does he?
Yeah, how new leaders would rather bring in their own people
Makes sense.
than start fresh with a brand new team.
So how do you become part of that inner circle?
If you're new,
Yeah. How do you become indispensable?
by anticipating needs,
That's part of it.
going above and beyond on those urgent tasks.
Even the ones that seem pointless.
Even the menial stuff.
Sometimes those are the most important.
You ever have one of those?
Oh, all the time.
Where a small task turned out to be huge.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the bigger picture.
Yeah, see how it all fits together.
That's what makes you valuable.
Makes you stand out.
And that's what managing up is really all about.
Oh, tons. Especially when I was first starting out.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I remember this one time my boss asked me to put together this huge report. I don't even remember what it was about.
Really?
It's something totally unrelated to what I was hired to do.
So like a busy work kind of thing?
Yeah, I was kind of annoyed, to be honest.
I bet.
But I did it anyway, buckled down and got it done.
What happened?
Turns out that report was going straight to the CEO.
No kidding.
He used it to make this big decision about our whole department.
Wow.
My boss was super happy.
I bet.
Yeah, and I definitely scored some points for being the one who delivered.
There you go.
Right.
You were reliable, went the extra mile, even when it wasn't exciting.
Yeah, but it paid off in the end.
It did. It built trust, and that's what managing up is all about.
Becoming a valuable asset.
Exactly. And Blakewell doesn't stop there. He also talks about managing down,
Meaning,
leading a team, doing it well,
right, he's big on leading by example, clearing obstacles for your team.
making sure they can do their best work.
Yeah, and dealing with bad performance directly.
Mm,
Not exactly like revolutionary stuff.
true. Not groundbreaking, but
It's easy to forget those basics when you're in the weeds.
yeah. Deadlines, office politics, it all gets in the way.
You get caught up in just trying to keep your head above water.
Exactly. But Blakewell pushes us to do more than just doing our jobs.
He wants us to master them.
Yeah, and he warns against complacency, which I think is super important these days.
I feel that it's easy to settle into a routine once you've been in a role for a while.
It's comfortable, right?
But is that really a bad thing? Like, isn't it good to get really good at what you do?
Efficient.
Right.
It's great, but Blakewell says it can be a trap if you're not careful.
How so?
He connects it to this idea of a growth mindset,
Okay.
which is all about, continuous learning, always developing.
Yeah.
If you're not pushing yourself to grow, you're basically standing still while everything around you changes.
Makes sense.
So how do we avoid getting stuck? How do we, embrace that growth mindset in a way that helps us succeed?
That's a good question.
Blakewell gives us a process for mastering our job,
Yeah, and it starts with
understanding the why behind our tasks.
not just going through the motions
Right, but getting how your work fits into the bigger picture.
of your team, your department, the whole company.
Yeah, the whole thing.
He talks about breaking down tasks, like looking at each step,
And then what?
analyzing them, seeing if you can streamline the process.
Finding efficiencies.
That reminds me of those lean principles they use in manufacturing,
Oh, yeah.
like cutting out steps to make things more efficient.
You got it. Blakewell actually calls it lean processing. And he says it applies to any job, not just factory work.
It's about constantly looking for ways to improve,
Yes.
whether that's automating stuff,
Getting rid of redundancies.
finding new ways to work together, collaborate.
All right, smarter ways.
So it's always having that Kaizen mindset.
I like that. Always improving, even when things are fine as they are.
And this is where the continuous learning comes in.
That's right.
He's big on using those company-provided educational resources.
Which a lot of companies offer.
Yeah.
It's good for them and for you.
Workshops, online courses, even tuition reimbursement.
Right. It's in their best interest to invest in their employees.
It's a win-win for everyone.
You learn new stuff, they get a better employee.
And speaking of valuable employees, this is where he drops that 5 minutes of genius idea.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a head scratcher.
It is at first, right?
Yeah.
He claims that by mastering your job, becoming a super efficient problem solver,
Like, you can anticipate problems before they happen.
You can actually work less over
Yeah.
time.
He even jokes about only working 5 minutes a day.
I know, it's a bit extreme, but
It's about becoming that good.
right, not about slacking off.
No, it's about becoming so good that you handle the hard stuff easily.
You become the go-to person,
Exactly.
the one who can untangle those really knotty problems.
Especially the ones that involve people and processes.
Oh, that's where it gets really messy.
Right. That's where the real value is.
And that's how you create that 5 minutes of genius effect.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's the big question, right? How do we find those skills, those areas where we can really be indispensable?
Well, Blakewell doesn't give us a step-by-step guide,
Right.
but he gives us some clues.
Okay, like what?
He says to think about the problems that we're naturally drawn to.
The ones we like, even if they're hard.
Yeah, the ones other people might avoid.
Okay.
Maybe it's untangling a messy spreadsheet,
Oh, I hate those.
or maybe it's mediating a conflict between colleagues,
Ooh, that's tricky.
or finding a creative solution to a budget problem.
So it's like those moments where we feel energized, even if it's a challenge.
Exactly. Those are often signs pointing to your 5 minutes of genius.
Like when everyone else is complaining about a problem,
Yeah,
but you kind of secretly like it, the challenge of solving it.
that's it. And once you've identified those areas,
Yeah.
it's about actively developing those skills.
So practice, get better,
Right. Seek out opportunities to use those skills.
and become the go-to person for that specific thing.
Exactly. You become the expert.
It's like specializing, not just in your job title, but in those unique areas.
That's what sets you apart.
Not just from other people, but from complacency, too.
Like Blakewell was warning about.
Right. It's about constantly pushing yourself.
Growing, learning, refining those skills.
So we've covered a lot.
We have, from first impressions to mastering your job.
And even finding your own 5 minutes of genius.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's that success in corporate America.
Yeah.
It's not just about working hard or technical skills.
There's more to it than that.
It's about understanding people.
The human side of things.
Right. Knowing how the game is played.
Even if the rules aren't written down.
And always looking for ways to add value.
Going above and beyond your job description.
Blakewell even says that if you don't use these insights,
Someone else will.
so it's like we have to be proactive.
Shape our own experience.
Exactly. We have more control than we think.
I like that, taking ownership.
So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into Ethan Blakewell's unsolicited advice for corporate newbies has come to an end.
I hope it's been helpful.
We've covered a lot of ground,
Some valuable insights.
whether you're just starting out or looking to level up.
Remember, it's not just about surviving,
It's about thriving,
mastering the human side of things,
building those connections.
finding your unique contribution.
So go out there, make those connections, hone your skills.
Found your 5 minutes of genius.
We'd love to hear from you.
What resonated with you? What are you going to try differently?
Share your thoughts. Keep the conversation going.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.